So while I'm out here and I've just finished the basic maintenance on this mill, I wanted to take some time to do something I've been meaning to do for a little while, is kind of do a quick review of my thoughts on this mill. Take it for what it's worth, because this is the only bandsaw mill I've ever run. It's the only mill I've had experience with. So that being said, I can tell you that I'm very happy with it. No regrets whatsoever. I think it's a great value. This is the Woodland Mills HM130, capable of milling up to a 30-inch wide log, milling boards up to 22 inches wide. The HM130 has a 14 horsepower Kohler Command Pro. All of Woodland Mills motors that they come on the mills are all pull start, no electric start. That was one of the questions I had from subscriber, is if there's an electric start option, and there isn't. You can upgrade the motor to a Kohler Command Pro 14 horsepower with electric start, but there is no conversion kit available. I talked to a local Kohler dealer and that's what they told me. I called and talked to Woodland Mills and they told me that upgrading to a bigger motor, I had asked them this before I realized the 14 horsepower motor had an electric start, or you could get a 14 horsepower with electric start. I found 25 horsepower with an electric start. I asked them if I put that on here if it would be a problem, and they did tell me that there's a good chance that they probably wouldn't support the warranty if I did that and had any problems with the mill that could be related to having a higher powered motor. So definitely not going to do that. There is an option of buying a 14 horsepower with an electric start built in, but like I said, there's no conversion kit. I haven't gone back and asked Woodland Mills if they have a problem with that. I'm sure they wouldn't, because the Kohler dealer I talked to said the specs are the same. It's just a 14 horsepower with electric start built into it. To buy the new motor, I think was about $600 or $700. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to run this for another year or so, and if I feel like having an electric start would be a big benefit, maybe I will do that. But as far as I'm concerned right now, for the cost, I don't really think it's a big benefit. So some of the things about this mill that I have learned over time, I've gotten better at making sure the guides are adjusted properly. I learned that if they're not, and they're not against the guide bearings properly. I've had an issue with the blade coming off one time, and that again was my own fault. I've also had an issue with the guide bearings wearing out too quickly, and that was also my own fault because I had the blade too hard against those bearings, so it wore them out. I've had the same bearings on here now for 4 or 5 months and haven't had a problem. So I've learned that lesson. Just like anything else, machinery that, not everyone would normally have or run their entire life. There are a lot of lessons that you learn yourself. It's great to get advice from others and watch videos and research things that people have learned over time that you could learn from. I've learned a lot of things that way, but at the same time, a lot of the lessons you're going to learn are yourself. Another thing is I didn't follow the directions closely enough when I built the track. I put the center bunk in incorrectly. It was causing the middle of my boards to be milled thin. I was just living with it because I couldn't figure out what the problem was. I figured over time I would figure it out. I think I milled boards like that for a few months. I eventually realized that center bunk was higher than the others. I thought it was just off level, which it may have been also, but so I fixed that. I re-leveled it. I haven't had to re-level it since, and I've been cutting boards perfectly straight for at least the last few months since I corrected that issue. I get my blades from a small company called Jerry's Resharp. His name's Jerry Doherty. The blades I get are called Ripper 37s. That's the brand of blades that he sells. I've sent them out locally here to be resharpened and get them back and use them again, and they work, as far as I can tell, they work just as well. So I've been happy with those, and that process I had to keep about 15 blades I have. I paid $16 a piece, I think, for them, roughly. And I've been really happy with them. I think it's a good value. I can typically mill 3 to 5 logs depending on what I might run into, how clean the logs are. So I get a pretty good life out of one before it needs to be resharpened. It costs me $7 per blade to have them resharpened. It usually takes a week or two to get them back, which is why I have 15 blades, because I can send 10 out, still have 5 on hand to get me through the week or two that I am waiting for the other blades to come back. So another lesson I learned here the hard way is, and I knew ahead of time, I just didn't do it, but to use something that won't freeze in your lubrication tank here. I put water in there and left it in there for the winter, and it froze solid. So one of the things I ended up having to do is pour hot water in there to thaw it out, drain it out, and I put windshield washer fluid in there, which is rated for 20 below zero. So hopefully now I won't have an issue with that freezing. I also had down here where the lube comes out, that was frozen inside. So even when I got it loosened up here, I had to heat that up to thaw that out because the water was in there. So like I said, it shouldn't be a problem now that I have a liquid in there that won't freeze or isn't supposed to freeze. In the time I've owned it, I haven't had anything break, wear out, not work the way it should. So yeah, I've been really happy with it. It comes with a 10-foot track. I have bought a 6-foot extension to it, which I do plan on putting on when the warm weather comes. I actually bought a trailer that I'm going to probably install this on so I can move it around, and I don't have to be stuck with it sitting here, because I do have another piece of property that I bought next door that I want to move the mill over to, so it's not over here in our yard. And I do plan on hopefully building a barn over there at some point, a workshop. So one of the questions I had is, if I were to do it again, would I put the track higher up? I like it being down low because I feel like, I don't know, it's more stable, it'll stay level better that way, and it doesn't bother me it being that low. The concern is when you're loading the logs on, you're going to use some sort of mechanical way of doing that. Initially, I used a winch and a snatch block, and I pulled them up just some ramps that I made onto the mill, and then I changed from doing that once I bought my backhoe. Now I load it with that, which is obviously a lot better. So when you're buying a mill, you want to think about how you're going to get logs on and off of it. If you're going to use, like I was doing, a winch or some, bit more difficult way of doing it, you might want to have it low to the ground because it'll be easier to get the logs on. If you have some sort of machine to load and unload it, it's really not a big deal. You can have it up higher and it'll be just as easy to load. Like I said, I'm going to put it on that trailer, and the mill should never go on level because it's going to be mounted to a fixed steel frame. But the way I have it here is not a problem for me. The issue you might have, if you might have a bad back or not a strong back, bending down to pick up the lumber off of the mill after you've milled it. If you're doing that a lot, I could see that being tiring. With as little as I'm milling, it never bothers me. So I guess it depends on your situation. So overall, I'm really happy with this mill. I really like the way that the saw head lifts up and down. It's not hydraulic, but it's very easy to turn. My kids can do it, I can do it. Very easy for me. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It's got a locking pin, so it keeps the head in position and it won't drop or anything while you're pushing it. Speaking of pushing it, it's very easy to move across the track. In the winter, you'll want to make sure you keep the track clear of sawdust and moisture so you don't end up with ice and sawdust buildup, because that can make it harder to push. If any bark or pieces of wood get stuck in there, it'll be hard to push, but it's very easy to take the bandsaw blades off and on. Very easy to adjust the guides as long as you're following the instructions. The log dogs work really well. They adjust up and down. It comes with 2 sets, one taller set, one shorter set. The taller set has a bit of a angle at the top to make the log easier to flip over. That's another thing you want to think about, is how are you going to move the log, how are you going to roll it around when it's on the mill. That does take some effort to do if you're doing it manually. There are mills out there that do have mechanisms for turning the log for you that run on hydraulics. Those mills are quite a bit more expensive than this. This mill was $4,000 base price, which I think is a very fair value. I don't have any regrets buying it. So yeah, the saw head going up and down, it locks into position, works great. The lubrication system works well as long as you don't let it freeze like I did. I really can't think of anything bad to say about it, to be honest with you. By no means am I sponsored by Woodland Mills whatsoever. I can tell you one thing about their customer service is fantastic. I don't think I've ever had a company who stands by their product and takes care of their customers as well as they do. No exaggeration, they are phenomenal. I've seen situations where people have had, things to say about their mill or Woodland Mills Sawmill. Woodland Mills will go out of their way to contact you if you don't contact them, and they know that you're not happy. So they're an awesome company to work with. That's the other end of it, is their warranty and customer service. I can't think of another company I've ever dealt with that has had customer service as good as theirs. So they definitely stand by their product, they stand by their customers. If you have a problem, they will help you out and they'll help you get through it, and they want to make sure you are happy with their product. Putting it together, assembling it was easy. I did it all by myself. You do want to think about how you're going to get the sawmill head up onto the track. The way I did it, I don't know that I would recommend doing it that way, but you know, you can. I used a winch and pulled it up onto the track. That was kind of a somewhat creative, dangerous way of doing it, but it worked. If you have a machine to lift it up onto the track, that would be far better. Or if you have 4 or 5 strong friends, they could potentially help you lift it on there. The other things to consider when you're buying a sawmill is where you're going to store your wood while it's drying. I would recommend using non-ethanol fuel if you get one right from the beginning. I would change the oil within the first couple of months, regardless of how much you use it. Kind of get it through that break-in period a little bit and get the oil changed. Within the first year, I'd probably change the oil 2 or 3 times just to make sure after that break-in period the oil is nice and clean and free of debris. Always use liquid that won't freeze, and you won't have a problem with that unless you're in a warm area. Then it really isn't going to matter. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I can't think of anything else. I'm happy with the clamping system. I've heard some people say they don't like it, but I've never used any other clamping system. The other clamping systems you would manually, you know, turn and tighten yourself. This one is just a quick lock and it locks it in place. I haven't had any problems with that. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I've got to say about it. I mean, there's also, you know, obviously a lot more to, there's more things to operating it when it comes to tensioning and the maintenance and changing your blades, which I'm doing the video on. So yeah, so that pretty much kind of covers my thoughts and answers any question that I think anyone's had so far on it. If there are any questions that you've had and I missed, put those down in the comment section and let me know, and I will come back and answer those for you either in the comments or maybe do another video if I get enough questions. If you have any questions that I haven't answered here that you haven't asked before and you're curious about, please definitely leave some comments down below and let me know what those questions are, and I will try to demonstrate as much as I can and answer your questions as much as I can. I'm more than happy to do it. That's why I do these videos, because I like sharing what I do with other people, and if there's something that I can tell you or show you that will help, more than happy to do it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this quick review. Thanks for watching. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Check out some of my other videos on the channel, and I'm sure there's some videos there you probably will like. And if you do like this video and the other videos, please hit the like button, because that actually does help out the channel quite a bit. And if you like the videos on this channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification next to that, and you'll be notified when I put out more of these videos. So until next time, I hope you see you on the next video. Take care.